Hey everybody! If you are reading in your paper book, we're on page 357. If you are using the PDF file that I have attached, it's page 370, the bottom. Here we go. I asked him where he was going to search first. It's kind of a secret, he said, looking embarrassed. I wish you can come with me, guys, but humans and Pan, we understand, Annabeth said. You got enough tin cans for the trip? Yeah. And you remembered your reed pipes? Jeez, Annabeth, he grumbled. You're like an old mama goat. But he didn't really sound annoyed. He gripped his walking stick and slung a backpack over his shoulder. He looked like any hitchhiker you might see on an American highway. Nothing like the little runty boy I used to defend from bullies at Yancey Academy. Well, he said, wish me luck. He gave Annabeth another hug. He clapped me on the shoulder, then headed back across the dunes. Fireworks exploded to life overhead. Hercules killing the Nemean lion, Artemis chasing the boar, George Washington, who by the way was the son of Athena, crossing the Delaware. Hey, Grover, I called. He turned at the edge of the woods. Wherever you're going, I hope to make good enchiladas. Grover grinned, and then he was gone, the trees closing around him. We'll see him again, Annabeth said. I tried to believe it, the fact that no searcher had ever come back in 2,000 years. Well, I decided not to think about that. Grover would be the first. He had to be. July passed. I spent my days devising new strategies for capture the flag and making alliances with other cabins to try to keep the banner out of Ares' hands. I got to the top of the climbing wall for the first time without getting scorched by lava. From time to time, I'd walk past the big house, glancing at an attic window, and think about Oracle. I tried to convince myself that its prophecy had come to completion. You shall go west and face the god who is turned. Been there, done that, even though the traitor god turned out to be Ares rather than Hades. You shall find what was stolen and see it safe returned. Check. One master bolt delivered. One helm of darkness back on Hades' oily head. You shall be betrayed by one who calls you a friend. This line bothered me. Ares had pretended to be my friend. Then he betrayed me. That must be what the oracle meant. And you shall fail to save what matters most in the end. I'd failed to save my mom. But only because I'd let her save herself. I knew that was the right thing. So why was I so uneasy? Last night a summer session came all too quickly. The campers had one last meal together. We burned part of our dinner for the gods. At the bonfire, the senior councils awarded the end-of-summer beads. I got my own leather necklace, and when I saw the bead for my first summer, I was glad the firelight covered my blushing. The design was pitch black, with a sea green trident shimmering in the center. The choice was unanimous, Luke announced. This bead commemorates the first son of the sea god at this camp, and the quest he undertook into the darkest part of the underworld to stop a war. The entire camp got to their feet and cheered. Even Ares' cabin felt obliged to stand. Athena's cabin steered Annabeth into the front so she could share in the applause. I'm not sure I ever felt as happy or as sad as I did in the moment. I'd finally found a family. People who cared about me and thought I'd done something right. And in the morning, most of them would be leaving for the year. The next morning, I found a form letter on my side of the bed table. I know Dionysus. Okay, there we go. I had to sound it out. Dionysus must have filled it out, because he stubbornly insisted on getting my name wrong. Dear Peter Johnson, if you intend to stay at Camp Half-Blood year-round, you must inform the big house by noon today. If you do not announce your intentions, we will assume you have vacated your cabin or died in a horrible death. Cleaning harpies will begin at work at sundown. They'll be authorized to clean any unregistered campers. All personal articles left behind will be incinerated in the lava pit. Have a nice day, Mr. D. Dionysus. Camp Director, Olympian Council, number 12. That's another thing about ADHD. Deadlines just aren't real to me until I'm staring one in the face. Summer was over, and I still hadn't answered my mother with a camp or whether I'd be staying. Now I had only a few hours to decide. The decision should have been easy. 9 months of hero training or 9 months of sitting in a classroom. Duh. There was my mom to consider. For the first time I had a chance to live with her for a whole year without Gabe. I had a chance to be at home and knock around the city in my free time. I remember what Annabeth had said so long ago on our quest. The real world is where the monsters are. That's where you learn whether or not you're any good or not. I thought about the fate of Thelia, the daughter of Zeus. I wondered how many monsters would attack me if I left Half-Blood Hill. If I stayed in one place for a whole school year without Sharon or my friends around to help me, would my mother and I even survive until next summer? That was assuming the spelling test, the 5-paragraph essays didn't kill me. I decided to go down to the arena and do some sword practice. Maybe that would clear my head. The campgrounds were mostly deserted, shimmering in the August heat. All the campers were in their cabins packing up or running around with brooms and mops getting ready for the final inspection. Argus was helping some sort of Aphrodite kids haul their Gucci suitcases and makeup kits over the hill, where the camp shuttle bus would be waiting to take them to the airport. Don't think about leaving yet, I told myself. Just train. I got to the sword fighter arena and found that Luke had the same idea. His gym bag was plopped at the edge of the stage. He was working solo, wailing on battle dummies with a sword I had never seen before. It must have been a regular steel blade because he was slashing at the dummies' heads right off, stabbing through their straw-stuffed guts. His orange counselor shirt was dripping with sweat. His expression was so intense his life might have really been in danger. I watched, fascinated, as he disemboweled the whole roll of dummies, hacking off limbs and basically reducing them into a pile of straw and armor. They were only dummies, but I still couldn't help being awed by Luke's skill. The guy was an incredible fighter. It made me wonder again how he possibly could have failed at this quest. Finally he saw me and stopped mid-swing. "Percy!" "Oh, I'm sorry," I said, embarrassed. "It's okay," he said, lowering his sword. "Just doing some last-minute practice. Those dummies won't be bothering anyone anymore." Luke shrugged. "We build new ones every summer." Now that his sword wasn't swirling around, I could see something odd about it. The blade was 2 different types of metal. One edge bronze, the other steel. Luke noticed me looking at it and said, "Oh, this? New toy. This is Backbiter." "Backbiter?" Luke turned the blade in the light so it glinted wickedly. One side is a celestial bronze, the other tempered steel. It works on mortals and immortals both. I thought about what Sharon had told me when I started my quest, that a hero should never harm mortals unless absolutely necessary. I didn't know they could make weapons like that. "They probably can't," Luke agreed. "It's one of a kind." He gave me a tiny smile, then slid the sword into its scabbard. "Listen, I was going to come looking for you. What do you say we go down in the woods one last time, looking for something to fight?" I don't know why I hesitated. I should have felt relieved that Luke was being so friendly. Ever since I'd gotten back from my quest, he'd been acting a little distant. I was afraid he might resent me for all the attention I'd gotten. "You think it's a good idea?" I asked. Aw, come on." He rummaged in his gym bag and pulled out a 6-pack of Cokes. "Drinks on me." I stared at the Cokes, wondering where the heck he'd gotten them. There were no regular mortal sodas at the camp store. No way to smuggle them in unless you talked to a satyr, maybe. Of course, the magic dinner goblets would fill with anything you wanted, but it just didn't taste the same as a real Coke, straight out of a can. Sugar and caffeine. My willpower crumbled. Sure, I decided, why not? We walked down to the woods and kicked around for some kind of monster to fight, but it was too hot. All the monsters with any sense must have been taking siestas in their nice cool caves. We found a shady spot by the creek where we broke in Clarice's spear during my first capture of the flag game. We sat on a big rock and drank our Cokes, watching the sunlight in the woods. After a while, Luke said, "You miss being on that quest?" "With monsters attacking me every 3 feet? Are you kidding?" Luke raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, I missed it," I admitted. "You?" A shadow passed over his face. I was used to hearing from the girls how good-looking Luke was, but at the moment he looked weary and angry and not at all handsome. His blonde hair was gray in the sunlight. The scar on his face looked deeper than usual, and I could imagine him as an old man. I've lived at Half-Blood Hill, year-round, since I was 14, he told me. Ever since Thalia, well, you know, I trained and trained and trained. I never got to be a normal teenager, out there in the real world. Then they put me on one quest. When I came back, it was like, okay, ride's over, have a nice life. He crumpled his Coke can and threw it into the creek, which really shocked me. One of the first things you learn at Camp Half-Blood is, don't litter. You hear from the nymphs and the nads, they'll get even. You crawl under bed one night and find your sheets full of centipedes and mud. The heck with the law of Reese, Luke said. I'm not gonna end up like those dusty trophies in Big House Attic. You make it sound like you're leaving. Luke gave me a twisted smile. Oh, I'm leaving all right, Percy. I brought you down here to say goodbye. He snapped his fingers. A small fire burned a hole in the ground at my feet. Out crawled something glistening back, about the size of my hand. A scorpion? I started to go for my pen. I wouldn't, Luke cautioned. Pet scorpions can jump up to 15 feet. Its stinger can pierce right through your clothes. You'll be dead in 60 seconds. Luke, what? Then it hit me. You will be betrayed by one who calls you a friend. You said... He stood calmly and brushed off his jeans. The scorpion paid him no attention. It kept its eyes beady black on me, clamping its pincers as it crawled onto my shoe. I saw a lot out there in the world, Percy, Luke said. Didn't you feel it? The darkness gathering? The monsters growing stronger? Didn't you realize how useless it all is? All the heroics being pawns of the gods. They should have been overthrown thousands of years ago, but they're hung on, thanks to us half-bloods. I couldn't believe this was happening. Luke, you're talking about our parents, I said. He laughed. That's supposed to make me love them? Their precious Western civilization is a disease, Percy. It's killing the world. The only way to stop it is to burn it to the ground. Start over with something more honest. You're as crazy as Ares. His eyes flared. Ares is a fool. He never realized the true master he was serving. If I had time, Percy, I could explain, but I'm afraid you won't live that long. The scorpion crawled onto my pants legs. There had to be a way out of this. I needed time to think. Kronos, I said. That's who you serve. The air got colder. You should be careful with names, Luke warned. Kronos got you to steal the master bolt and the helm. He spoke to you in your dreams. Luke's eye twitched. He also spoke to you too, Percy. You should have listened to him. He's brainwashing you, Luke. You're wrong. He showed me my talents are being wasted. You know what my quest was 2 years ago, Percy? My father, Hermes, he wanted me to steal a golden apple from the garden of Hesperides and returned it to Olympus. After all the training I'd done, that's the best he could come up with? That's not an easy quest, I said. Hercules did it. Exactly, Luke said. Where's the glory in repeating what others have done? All the gods know how to do is replay their past. My heart wasn't in it. Dragon in the garden gave me this. He pointed angrily at his scar. And when I came back, all I got was pity. I wanted to pull Olympus down stone by stone right then. But I bided my time. I began to dream of Kronos. He convinced me to steal something worthwhile, something no hero had ever taken the courage to take. When we went onto the winter solstice field trip, while the other campers were asleep, I snuck into the throne room and took Zeus's master bolt right from his chair. Hades' helm of darkness, too. You wouldn't believe how easy it was. The Olympians are so arrogant. They never dreamed someone would dare steal from them. Their security is horrible. I was halfway across New Jersey before I heard the storms rumbling. I knew they discovered my theft. The scorpion was sitting on my knee now, staring at me with glittering eyes. I tried to keep my voice level. So why didn't you bring the items to Kronos?